Got4 NCAA men's and women's basketball Final Four has been set, and the women's game was played, or will be played later on tonight. And you guys will be hearing this video pre-recorded. I recorded it, and we'll set it for this weekend. But what you'll see in these games is a defending NCAA champion, UConn Huskies, who've been dominant. You know, they haven't had a game where, I don't believe one of their games haven't been, I think no one's been within 17 points. When you look at their scores, they beat Stetson 91-52. The game against Northwestern was not actually that close, even though it ended up as a 75-58 point spread in the game. It really was a 20-something point spread. And then they beat San Diego State in a rematch of last year's national championship game by 30, and then proceeded to beat Illinois, the Big Ten tournament champions, by 25. It hasn't been close. So their average margins of victory, and the Connecticut team feels extremely dominant. And honestly, it feels as if they're inevitable, right? Almost like a Thanos type of deal. You know, on the other side of that bracket, though, that won't be playing them potentially, or might be playing them in the championship, is Cinderella's cardiac pack. North Carolina State Wolfpack looks a lot like 83. The Pack is back after going on a tear, being a team that they had to win the tournament to get into the ACC championship tournament to even get into the NCAA tournament. And they proceeded to not only win that tournament, now they are in the Final Four, which, by the way, I picked them to be in the Final Four. It's just something about seeing destiny and seeing a team go on a run kind of made me think this might be one of those types of years. And DJ, that's my DJ, Burns, shows that skills still pays the bills. So in this era where fans and people are saying that the athletes are bigger, stronger, faster, quicker, and they're so much more advanced today, stop the cap. They're not. This is a guy who is not athletic, is not jumping out of the gym, but he understands footwork, pace, play. I'm not saying he's Nikola Jokovic, obviously, but the kid is a fundamental savant and understands the game. And then they have a kid in Horn who also can play, and they are a formidable opponent. Just ask Duke. Just ask Carolina. Just ask everybody who's run up against them. But they're going to have their hands full against Purdue Boilermakers, who can shoot the three, and they have a 7'4" guy in Edey handling the business. And I heard something about, because he's an actual Canadian citizen, he doesn't actually benefit from NIL. Now, I don't know how much truth to that, but I heard that. I think it was an interview where him voicing his frustration about not doing that. Well, in the event, the women's game has taken off to another level. And I can't go without mentioning, obviously, the Final Four in men is UConn taking on Alabama, who has run through with a senior-led squad and defeated North Carolina in the Sweet 16 to overcome a gritty and other senior-led squad in Clemson to face UConn, who's now 35-3, the most wins in school history for the men's program. And you've got State and Purdue going at it. Purdue, who's also 33-4, and also the number one seed on that side of the Midwest bracket, where UConn is the East champs, who playing the West champions Alabama, which sounds weird. And then you got NC State coming from the South. And in the women's game, you've got NC State again playing against undefeated South Carolina and Coach Don Staley, pure class on all sides of the table. Don Staley is who you would want your daughters to be coached by. Heck, if she wanted to coach men, I would have her coach my sons as well. And undefeated South Carolina looking for redemption. And then you have on the other side of the bracket, UConn. Again, I don't think I've ever seen this where two programs have made the Final Four in both women's and men's basketball in UConn and NC State. So that's something to say about that. And then you have obviously UConn going up against Caitlin Clark, Miss Sensational from Iowa, overall #1 pick in the WNBA draft coming up, trying to get something done. She's had one of the greatest seasons ever in collegiate basketball in the women's game ever. And she's one of the greats, and she's got to submit that, I believe, by getting a championship. But she's going to have her hands full with young lady Paige and UConn Huskies who have managed to overcome a lot of injuries. That's coaching and culture, something the Dallas Cowboys could learn something about. But I digress. In any event, Got4, Bronny James going pro, but he's still going to be in the transfer portal. We're going to talk a little bit more about that, but let's get into deeper detail and discussion about Got4, and we'll talk about Bronny James and Emmanuel Ocho. Are you out your mind, or does he have a valid point? This is Sports Bucks with Steve.
Children need sleep for proper development, and sleeping disorders like snoring or sleep apnea may be robbing them of the rest they deserve. At Genesis Family Dentistry, Dr. Stacy Alston not only provides the finest dental care, but free screenings to identify airway issues too. And your children can get screened for more issues, such as teeth grinding, thumb sucking, tongue ties, and more. Contact Genesis Family Dentistry, 980-292-8299. Online at genesisfamilydentistry.nc.com.
It's a bird!
It's a plane!
No, it's Super Roth!
Okay, a gimmicky opening for a commercial about Super Roth Universal Life Insurance, but I'm sure it got your attention. Now, what is a Super Roth, you ask? It's a permanent indexed universal life insurance that's totally liquid and easily accessible once it matures. Can be used to supplement retirement savings or a death benefit, or both. Has no income or contribution limit. Has no 5-year rule like Roth IRAs. Has no 10% penalty for accessing the funds before age 59 and a half. Oh, and the average historical returns are 5 to 7% annually. Tax-free! Super Roths also lock in gains, which means you don't lose your money when the market is down. Sounds incredible, right? Sounds super? Super Roths are the way of the future, specifically your future. To see if you qualify for a Super Roth, go online to thesuperroth.com.
Now, more than ever, all U.S. veterans need your help. If you have an old car, truck, or van, you can donate it today and help them. And they'll come pick it up for free. Plus, the money raised helps our nation's disabled veterans and their families. Call the number on your screen right now. Within a few days, we'll come and tow it away for free, running or not. And the proceeds greatly help U.S. veterans. So please call right now.
Angel Reese talking about, the issues of being on the spotlight, essentially, and what she's had to endure, being in the spotlight. And we have to keep in mind, this is still a very young lady. And as we, there's got to be a level of some kind of grace when it comes to us as adults and people who are old enough to or should know better, and who are old enough to understand that sometimes you don't handle things the greatest way, especially when we're young and we make mistakes or we say things in the heat of the moment or we do things that we don't necessarily we like to take back, right? There's I like some do-overs if we could. So I want to play this video, fair use, of course. This is Angel Reese discussing some of the obstacles that she has faced and in the spotlight.
I've seen so much. I've been attacked so many times. Death threats. I've been sexualized. I've been threatened. I've been so many things, and I've stood strong every single time. And I just try to stand strong for my teammates because I don't want them to see me down and like not be there for them. So I just want to always just know, like, I'm still a human. Like, all this has happened since I won the national championship, and I said the other day I haven't had peace since then, and it sucks. But I still wouldn't change. I wouldn't change anything, and I would still sit here and say, like, I'm unapologetically me. I'm gonna always leave that mark and be who I am and stand on that. And hopefully, the little girls that look up to me, and hopefully, I give them some type of inspiration that, hopefully, it's not this hard and all the things that come at you, but keep being who you are, keep waking up every day, keep being motivated, staying who you are, staying 10 toes, don't back down, and just be confident.
And she says, just be confident, don't back down, take 10 toes down. And, nothing wrong with that. I think what gets overblown, and I'm going to play the video. I saw something on it was not just Angel. It wasn't just Doug Gottlieb had said something. Doug Gottlieb is not a stranger to controversy. He's kind of says stuff all the time. But, Emmanuel Alcho, there are sometimes I agree with Emmanuel Alcho, then there's a lot of times I don't. But which is fine. But, I think that in the scenario or in this situation, we saw him he's come under fire since what he said about Angel Reese when I think he made the comment of he compared Angel Reese to the Cowardly Lion or something like that. He says, I'm going to try to find exactly his statement. And he was on FS1's Speak show, and he discussed Angel Reese emotional remarks after a loss. You have to keep in mind, this is 30, 40, not even 30, 40 minutes after a loss. And you put a 19, 20, 21-year-old young lady on the camera and ask her to respond, or even young man to respond. And they're not always going to come across as maybe you and I might want them to. But in the heat of the moment and after you lose, competitive trash talking happens both ways. It's not just Angel Reese that is talking trash, by the way. It is these other players are also talking trash. And a lot was made about Angel Reese's comments or gestures at the hands of when she was the victor over certain opponents. A lot was made about what was she doing, and she could have handled that better, but that it was actually kind of pushed to the rug what Caitlin Clark had been doing in last season's tournament when she was sort of waving off people and being sort of what people would say is disrespectful in the game, but a lot wasn't said about that. A lot was more made about what Angel Reese was doing. She was just giving what she saw her giving other people. Now, and so, but when you lose, and you lose on the big stage, this is right before they could go to the Final Four, where as we know, Iowa is taking on they're taking on UConn, as I mentioned earlier, in 1.5 of the Final Four bracket. But he says again, Emmanuel Acho says you can't be the big bad wolf, but then cry like Courage, the cowardly dog, and represent the Tamorius Cartoon Network character. And so he further goes on to say, if you want to act grown, which she has, if you want to get paid like you're grown, which you are, if you want to talk grown folks like you're grown, which you did, then when you take an L, you got to take it on the chin. And what frustrated me is what he goes on to say is what you want to be the villain, but you want to hope for sympathy like a hero, he added. And Reese has spoken about being a villain for her, that which is a fuse to competitive fire. Let me see if I can play this video for you guys. Again, fair use of him actually making the statement. We'll see, because every time I play one of their videos from Fox, they always seem to want to find a way to stop me being able to benefit in any sort of monetary manner. But this is courtesy of Fox Sports. Again, fair use. And this is Emmanuel Acho.
A gender-neutral, racially indifferent take. Now, if you want to say, well, Acho, cater your take based upon gender, Acho, cater your take based upon race, I will understand that. But I'm about to give a gender-neutral, racially indifferent take. Angel Reese, you can't be the big bad wolf, but then kind of cry like Courage the Cowardly Dog. Because if you want to act grown, which she has, if you want to get paid like you grown, which you are, if you want to talk to grown folks like you grown, which you did post-game when you told a coach for an opposing team, watch your mouth. If you want to tell people, get your money up, then post-game when you take an L, you just got to take it on the chin. Nobody mourns when the villain catches an L. And Angel Reese, you have self-proclaimed to be the villain. Shout out to you, because you were the second best basketball player on the court, and it was not close. Outside of Caitlin Clark, it was you. 17 and 20, dog. Showed up, biggest game, second biggest game of your career. Absolute dog, but you can't under any circumstance go to the podium and now try to ask for individuals to give you sympathy. No one has sympathy for the villain. You painted the bullseye on your back. Why are you surprised when people shoot at you? So if you want to act grown, if you want to pose grown, if you want to talk grown, if you want to talk to grown folks grown, then you got to take the L like you grown. Because what frustrated me is when you want to be the villain, but you want to hope for sympathy like a hero.
So you hear Emmanuel Acho talk about, I mean, does he have some violent points, I should say, not violent, valid points? You know, yeah, in a sense, he does. Two things can be true sometime at the same token. And so I think, though, that Emmanuel misses maybe part of the problem, though. Part of the point is that what she's talking about goes beyond basketball. What she's talking about is not about what happens on the court. What she's talking about is that she's actually not the villain, Emmanuel, out your mind. She's not actually the villain. She has been painted as the villain to the other party that is labeled the good girl or the one you should follow. And that's where we have a problem. So this is where the problem is that, and I hate to see it, on a racial tone, because I'm a fan of Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, and one of our biggest, most viewed shows was talking about that game with Iowa and LSU. That was one of my best viewed shows. Caitlin Clark is a dog, a tremendous player, a generational talent. She's going to bring, she and Angel Reese and that Iowa LSU game, I believe and hope that this is true, that this is the equivalent of Magic and Bird for the women's college game, for women's pro game. I believe it is. The views for that game was over 12 million. It surpassed the men's game by far in viewership. The seats, the expensive seats to the Final Four are more expensive to go to the women's Final Four than it is to attend the men's game. That is unheard of. And that is all due to women's game, individuals like Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, University of South Carolina, and their dominance and how this game has exploded. And you got to give credit to the university, to people who have laid the foundation, the University of Connecticut, who's been the blue blood in college basketball, women's college basketball game. The predecessors at USC, the Cheryl Millers, the Cynthia Cooper, Cheryl Swoops, all of these young ladies that have set the Maya Moores and all these other folks, and Rebecca, I'm sorry if I forget her name. I don't want to say the wrong name, but Sue Bird, all these other folks that have set the stage to where it is now. So Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese both going into the WNBA, I hope it spews the numbers. Now, I will say this. One of the co-hosts on the show, Joy Taylor, who I've worked with in the past, actually kind of pushed back on Acho Mine's comments. She actually questioned why Reese had been made out to be a villain in the public eye. Kudos to you, Joy. She didn't make herself the villain. This is what Joy says. She didn't make herself the villain. It's exactly what I just said earlier. She showed up unapologetically herself in the same way that men do all the time. She said later, adding that what Reese experiences is not the same thing as what everyone is experiencing. Now, on Wednesday, another sports journalist, Taylor Rooks, also called out Acho's remarks, saying that it is impossible to be gender neutral and racially indifferent when discussing Reese's experience. Her existence as a Black woman shapes both how she is seen by others and how she sees the world. In this case, how she is seen by you. She also said that Acho's remarks were coded and biased. Opinions are opinions, and everyone is entitled, but our opinions are shaped by the paradigms we know, she added. Boom. There have been others, because when you look at what Angel Reese has suffered and what she's gone through while she was fighting back tears, because this was her last college basketball game, man. And I hear LaShawn McCoy saying she shouldn't have cried. He made the statement, what are you talking about, LaShawn McCoy, Shady McCoy? I'm still amazed. I don't know how you have a job on television. I'm still amazed by that. He is literally a fanboy for the Eagles as a host of a television show, a co-host of a television show, sports show. And his random attacks on Dak Prescott, they could be talking about, man, they say it's going to snow in Green Bay and Green Bay is playing the Bears. Dak Prescott, what would he do in that snow? So this is what he does. And then he's going to try to defend and say she shouldn't have cried. This is a young lady playing her last college basketball game, and she knows it's over. And it's at that moment when you can they ask the questions. So this is what she's been through. She has had death threats. She says she's been sexualized. She's been threatened. And she says she stood her toe. Now, why has she had death threats? Because we have undertones of racism in this country that is not going anywhere until this thing is over with. And that is until, if you believe like I believe, the Messiah returns. And he going to set this thing straight. Best believe. So this is what we're talking about. Caitlin Clark is not experiencing that. Not that I know of. And nor should she. But this is the problem with media folks like Emmanuel Acho speaking in code and trying to defend the undefendable, his stance. So, and we read a little bit further, Acho, he had a video that he later on talked about. He understood some of the backlash he received from the remarks, though he did not offer an apology statement. He did say, I do not stand on the hill saying that I'm right and you are wrong. He said, I simply stand on a place saying, hey, this is what I believe. What do you believe? Let's listen to one another and construct our collective beliefs. Acho trying to fix it up. He's trying to fix it up because he got the pushback that he wasn't expecting. And different people have kind of chimed in on this. Different followers have said, One of the person online said there's no such thing as gender neutral in a patriarchy or racially indifferent in a white power structure at Emmanuel out your mind. Is talking out both sides of his mealy mouth as usual and predictably uses past tepid lip service for women and Black America as receipts to justify tomfoolery. And not really tomfoolery, it's more about Sambo tomfoolery because Uncle Tom was actually a hero, by the way. But that's a little bit more of a historical misnomer to be corrected. And then Alex Goodwin, this is another person, one of the followers, a PhD. Once again, Emmanuel Acho is a dude who sounds really smart to people who are really dumb. Stop asking that man important questions. He ain't got the range. And Acho, is also Nigerian American. And there is differences, to be honest with you. And from a Black American's perspective, like myself, who have dealt with and experienced racism and from somebody that's from Nigeria, like his family's from Nigeria, who have not experienced the same thing as so-called Black Americans or African Americans, it's a different thing. Most of us don't even know where we're from in Africa. He knows because we were misplaced. Our heritage was stolen and taken from us. So there's a different disconnect between those two. I won't go any deeper than that, but there's a lot more I could definitely say. So, and lastly, Justin Walters was a young man on here said, nah, Angel Reese is not a villain or a cowardly dog. She's a role model, SEC Player of the Year, national champion. Your take fell extremely short of being gender neutral and racially indifferent. Out your mind. I'm going to take a quick break, pay some bills, and I want to get into what I believe is going to happen tonight and this Final Four. I will say South Carolina, Iowa. But that UConn thing, And on the men's side, my gut tells me UConn, obviously, versus Purdue. And seeing Edie and the other guy, Klingler, I think his name is, for UConn going at it would be the first time that both of them had to deal with somebody like themselves. That would be interesting. Edie has a lot more. I think he's a bigger guy, girth-wise, but I think that'll be an interesting national championship. Now, my heart is with NC State. I would rather see NC State on the men's side and South Carolina on the women's side advance and win it all. NC State and UConn would be, a big one. Alabama's dangerous, though. So this is something I don't really know. I'm going to go on a limb and say UConn repeats, but NC State might spoil the party. That's my predictions for the men's game. And in the women's game, I want to say Clark wins it all. Iowa wins the national championship behind Caitlin Clark. Rooting for South Carolina, though. I'm just going to be honest. Or NC State. But that's what I believe. But if she doesn't, I could see South Carolina. I'm going back and forth, but I could see South Carolina also pulling it out and being undefeated. So we'll see. But let me take a quick break. We'll be right back, man, after this.
Has your heater busted, computer crashed, appliance broken? Then you need ARW Home.
Life's been pretty worry-free since I got covered with ARW Home. Don't waste thousands of dollars on air conditioning, appliance repair, and replacements. Save that money with ARW Home. Protection plans that cover household appliances, systems, and electronics.
My air conditioning broke on a Sunday. I called ARW, and they came out and fixed it right away.
Get your free quote today. Call or go to arwhome.com now.
I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
511-0 I can't see it. 228. If you guys see it on, you can see it on when you check out the show. Let me run one more commercial for you guys just so I can pay my bills.
Looking to protect your legacy and leave your family in solid financial health by establishing a living will or trust, but you're not sure where to start? At Fig Wealth Partners, you can get comprehensive, budget-friendly wills and trust planning. Thanks to the powerful Estate Guru software, you get access to the attorneys you need anywhere in the nation. Wills and trust planning starts as low as $699, but with the promo code #SportsBucks, you'll get $100 off regular fees. Get started at FigWealthPartners.com. Getting health insurance doesn't have to be expensive. At Ford Insurance Group, affordable health care is back. Small to mid-sized businesses and self-employed independent contractors can get health insurance plans for up to 60% less than what you'll find at other brokers. Ford Insurance Group offers Group Health Big Employer Association rates, exclusive zero-deductible health plans, human resources outsourcing from professional employer organizations, ACA insurance plans as low as $0, and disability income coverage to protect your income and the income of your business, as well as your key employees. Ford Insurance Group customizes plans for each client, giving you maximum flexibility and protection. Find out what Ford Insurance Group can do for you online at FordInsuranceGroup.com or call 980-281-1700. That's 980-281-1700.
Do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Are you being audited or investigated? Has the IRS sent you a letter demanding payment? You may not owe what they claim. Make this free call to the tax doctor now. Let them negotiate with the IRS on your behalf.
800-663-5107. 800-663-5107. That's 800-663-5107.
Now, we're back and taking this to the home stretch of the show. I want to talk about Bronny to the NBA or transfer portal, either way. LeBron James's firstborn and eldest son, Bronny James, is now declaring for the NBA draft. Preps to pros. What do we think about that? Well, Bronny averaged 4.8 points a game in his freshman season. And apparently LeBron has made the comment that wherever he goes, if he doesn't stay in the draft, he's got to go somewhere where he's going to be the leader. This is what LeBron has stated, that his son has to go somewhere and be the leader of the team. And he thought USC had a winning culture. I'm not reading this slow for a reason, by the way, because I'm trying to understand, how is it that you determine your son should be the leader of a team and a program? And this is where a lot of folks push back with LeBron James, because, and I've got a lot I could say about LeBron James. I think he's a phenomenal player. You're doing what you can. He's been, by most accounts, a role model. And obviously there's some information out there that the regular media and even some of the folks in new media won't touch. And I'm not here to talk about that on today's show. It is what it is. It'll be what it's going to be. But, I wish Bronny success in his endeavors. He has to play under a huge umbrella, or I should say shadow. When you play for one of the greatest players, or you are the son, I should say, of one of the greatest players in history, in LeBron James, it doesn't make your life easy at all. But I think, LeBron one of the things that I think his detractors would say about him is he's really got to stop this passive aggressive stuff. Because in 1 minute he says his son can play for the NBA right now. And watching some of these other players, man, Bronny's better than these guys right now. And I'm like, okay, you could feel a certain way, Bron, but at the same time, you can help the Lakers win a championship right now. But what that is saying is that, what does that say to your teammates or to the rest of the league? What type of bullseye does that put on your son if he does go to the league already having the last name James? Like, I know you want to set your son up for success, but I've never seen anyone, one of the greatest players in the history of basketball, or some of the other guys that's been good players or really good, or even the greatest of all time, Michael Jordan. You never heard him talking about Marcus and his other son, Jeffrey. You never saw that. You never saw that sort of constant push by the elder statesman or the elder Jordan or any of these other great players. Carlos Boozer is a guy that was a good player, and I think he may have made an all-star game or two, if I can recall. I don't remember that for certain, but you don't hear about him pushing his sons. And his sons, one of them might be the number one player in the country when he comes out to go to college. He may have a chance. One of his, I think it's his twin sons. And so, but you don't hear him talking. You don't hear Dwayne Wade was trying to push his son, and who was playing at Sierra Canyon with LeBron's son, I think. And then he went. You don't hear anything about those guys. You don't hear Carmelo Anthony talking about his son. I'm talking about Hall of Fame guys beyond Carlos Boozer. You don't hear them constantly trying to push his son. I want to play with Bronny. I want to play with Bronny, and then disrespect the rest of the league. That's the problem. Well, let's hear with Stephen A. Smith. This is courtesy of ESPN First Take, with Stephen A. was talking with Kendrick Perkins.
Bronny James entering the NBA, putting himself to enter the NBA draft with the numbers that he has, that he produced at USC, combined with his questionable health for the moment. Inevitably, what that means is that you're doing this because you're Bronny James. You're the son of LeBron James, and that's going to warrant consideration. What they have to understand is that in and of itself is going to invite the exact thing I don't want for him. And that's that extra layer of scrutiny, because how much of a chance are people really going to give him in terms of judging him accurately? You know basketball, Perk. You played it, you're a champion. And you know how to dissect it in a way where you can look at his IQ, you can look at his athleticism, his defensive prowess, and you can say, hey, that's fine. They're going to look at the numbers, less than 5 points per game. He only scored in double digits 3 times in the 25 games he played, stuff like that. And they're going to look at him being LeBron James' son. And because of the attention that LeBron assisted in bringing to him, that makes it even that much more tougher. And I say that, I swear to you, I'm being sensitive to this. I don't want anybody to misconstrue what I'm trying to say. LeBron had the best of intentions with his son. And I'm not saying he did anything purposefully wrong in any way. I'm just saying because he is who he is. And he was on camera saying he wants to play in the NBA with his son. And he was on camera saying, and he's said on numerous occasions that he'd be willing to stay in the NBA and go somewhere else other than where he's at if it meant wearing the same uniform as his son. Those things are the kind of things that are going to elevate the scrutiny coming in Bronny James' way. And that's why I don't know, Perk, if the best thing for him might have been, you know what, get another season under your belt when you're fully healthy, fully recovered from all that you've endured, showcase those skill sets that the Kendrick Perkins of the world and others have talked about, and boom. But he could still do it, because just because you enter in the draft, he's also going to be in the transfer portal. It doesn't mean that he can't play basketball next season.
I don't always agree with Stephen A. Smith, as you guys know. But I think that, now I want to hear also, let me see. I think there's a video I want to hear from Jay Williams, who, is another one of those guys in the media that sort of bloviates sometimes on LeBron James and has made foolish conversations and comments in terms of LeBron James would beat Michael Jordan one-on-one, which is absolutely foolish. LeBron couldn't beat Michael Beasley one-on-one. He lost to Dwayne Wade one-on-one. This is just, stop it. And an old retired Michael Jordan beat Michael Beasley's breaks off, old and retired. These are proven. So stop with the cap with that. But we'll talk a little bit more about that on another show. But this was Jay talking about.
For me, this is just Bronny James checking out his options, right? Going into the transfer portal, why not go through all the workouts? I know people are going to jump to conclusions like he's definitely going into the draft. Why not see the entire landscape? So open up the portal, see what opportunities are there, go into all these pre-draft workouts, go through the routine, see where you're going to be, see what, Rich Paul and company, what they're going to talk about as it relates to what potential teams you could go to. That's, late first round, early second, and then weigh out all your options. I think it's a smart move. I'm not going to jump to conclusions by saying Bronny's definitely going to the draft. He's just seeing what the entire landscape looks like. But at the end of the day, if you're Bronny, you can't worry about what everybody has to say. You know how many kids are entering the portal or how many kids are entering the draft to go through the workout process? You have a lot of kids that are nowhere close to the physical talent. And I get what the numbers translate to. And I'm not sitting up here saying that, yeah, Bronny James is definitely going to be a first-round draft pick. But there's so many kids that are going through what that process is like that, to me, this just fits suit with what other people are doing, right? We have so many kids that are kids at Duke that are thinking about going to the draft. I'm like, yo, what are you doing? They're like, no, I'm just seeing what my options are. And I want to go through the process of going to workouts. That's what it is to me.
So Bronny James going into the draft, if he's weighing his options, okay, great. If he's weighing his options, great. However, I think a problem that people have with Bronny weighing his options is that, and I'm going to be honest, I don't think Bronny has options if he's not LeBron James' son. So there's a bit of nepotism that is taking place there. And we see it with other folks from other races. Their sons' legacy stuff gets passed down. And so we have an opportunity to possibly take advantage of that. Okay, you can't be mad at the man, if this is what you got going for, and you're allowing your son to be in that type of situation. But, at the same token, Bronny was not a starter in the McDonald's high school All-American game. He wasn't a starter. There are arguments that Bronny James made the high school All-American because of politics. And I would venture on the side of, he didn't really earn from his own accomplishments on the court. He got there because of politics. Because he wasn't the best 15, 20 players, 30 players in high school last season. No doubt about that. So Bronny is a James, and that helps you in today's society, especially in the world of the NBA, obviously. And he's got his own money because of NIL and whatever endorsed opportunities. So he's not, and his dad's a billionaire. So it's not the money aspect of why he wants to be in the NBA. It's because he loves the game, which is kudos to the kid. But what I don't want to see is Bronny James in the portal, in the draft, and then he just gets signed as an undrafted free agent so he can play one season with his dad. Then his dad is off and running off to retirement. Then what happens to Bronny James in his NBA career? At some point, sometime, somebody's going to have to push him down to the development league. And then what happens? Does he ever develop to be that next guy and be a solid NBA player? I don't know. And based on what I've seen, I'm not sure it will happen. But I wish the young man luck in his endeavors, and I don't root against him. I'll put it that way. But I do think that it is a little bit concerning that a kid who is, if you didn't know his name is LeBron James or Bronny James, Bron James Jr., And you looked at his stat line and said, this is a guy that averaged 4.8 points a game, less than 4 or 5 rebounds a game, less than 3 or 4 assists a game. I don't know what his assist total is. And he didn't even start on his college team. He didn't start in the McDonald's All-American game. And you would say, this is a guy that should be a lottery pick, or he should be a first round, or even be drafted. You wouldn't. The only reason why LeBron James Jr., Bronny James, has NBA conversations is because of his daddy. Yes, I said it. So good luck to him. I wish first and foremost his health, because that's obviously very, very important. But listen, we appreciate you guys stopping by, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Tell a friend, and we appreciate you once again for stopping by and being a part of this show. Because we so appreciate you, yo. Anyway, shout out to the women's college basketball taking the next step. Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson. Possibly. We'll see what it does for the women's game, but it's already showing the numbers. And I did show, I was looking at this picture. You guys can't see this, or maybe you can, but it says the Final Four seats. Average ticket price, $970 for the women's Final Four game, $571 for the men's. Caitlin Clark, LSU, Iowa, South Carolina, UConn, NC State. Women's basketball is in a good place. And Juju Watkins is the future. Paige got another year. We'll see what happens. But shout out to the young ladies and the men's. Will it be repeat UConn, or will it be Destiny's Darlings, NC State Wolfpack? Or is it Zach Edey and Purdue's time? Or could we see a rabbit out of our hat? The Alabama Crimson Tide winning something other than in football. But this is an accomplishment for Alabama. They made the Final Four in football, and now they've made the Final Four in basketball. Well, football is to be expected. It's Alabama. But we'll see what happens. Come Sunday, Monday night, a new champion will be named. We'll talk a little bit about that on the next show. Until then, we will see you when we see you. This is Sports Bucks with Steve. We'll see you next week.